We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Nick Barris, along with Josh Horn, Social Security. Good to have you on, Josh. Let's get to the phone lines. What do you say? Let's knock it off, and we'll start. By the way, you have some lines open, and you know it gets busy. We're going to stay with you till 9, 737-7587. We'll start off with Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Joe.
Question. Husband and wife both are drawing Social Security. The husband draws quite a bit more than the wife, and he passes away. Does the wife get the higher amount, or how does that work?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes, and that's something that we see frequently when a spouse who is got a higher amount that they're drawing and they pass away, then the widow or widower can actually switch over to that record. We see that very, very common, almost every day.
And it's easy enough to do if that happens. And we've had calls before where someone wasn't exactly sure if it would be more or not. What they just need to do is contact Social Security and get an answer to that. Say, look, this is the situation. Can you look at both of our records? Which one would I draw more on, right?
Yeah, I mean, when those borderline cases, sometimes we have to take a close look to see, well, how old is the widow or widower? How old was the person who passed away? And when they started drawing, and is it reduced? I mean, there's a few different factors there when it's close, but most of the time, you know, you're going to switch over to that higher earning record.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Good question. People need to think about that. They could get more money. A lot of people maybe don't do that, and they're missing out. Let's go to Stefan. Hi, Stefan.
Hi.
Hey, how can we help you?
My question is, well, it's kind of like a two-part question. First, someone applies for disability for one problem, but after going to the doctor during the actual process starts, but going to the doctor, there are new diagnoses. Are the new diagnoses, can they be added to the current disability application?
Like the person's getting worse.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be something extremely important to add. And like I've mentioned before, sometimes folks come in and they only tell us about one of the diagnoses that they have, maybe their main diagnosis, and they forget to tell us about some of these peripheral things that they're dealing with. And I encourage anybody who's filing for disability, make sure you list everything that's affecting your ability to work. And if there's new diagnosis along the way, make sure and let either your disability examiner know or the field office know.
Okay, and so if that person gets approved for disability, and do the children and the wife get part of it, or is it just the children?
The children definitely can draw what we call auxiliary benefits, and we do also have what's called mother's benefits. But the mother's benefits are subject to the annual earnings test. That's kind of like retirement benefits, where you can only make about $15,000 or $16,000 a year. So if the mother, or in this case, if the mother is actually working, let's say, and making $20,000 or $30,000, it's usually better to split that money amongst the kids rather than the mother's benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Gotcha, Steph. I appreciate that. So, when he was saying that the children would draw benefits as well if their father was getting disability?
Yeah, so when somebody draws disability or retirement for that matter, most of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time there's some excess money on the account called the family maximum or the family amount.
Okay.
And we can split that amongst any auxiliaries on the record, and that auxiliaries would include minor children, disabled adult children who are disabled before age 22, or mothers, or aged spouses, say spouses that were over age 62. Those are all considered auxiliaries. If I've got $500 on the record, I could split it between two children, or I could split it between two children and a spouse, but it's going to end up being the same amount pretty much every time. And so, in this scenario, most of the time, it's just better to have it split amongst the kids if the spouse is still working.
I was going to ask you, when you're drawing disability, not Social Security insurance, SSI, but disability where you had been working all your life and then all of a sudden you're disabled, the amount you're able to draw, it's based on your earnings, correct? How much you are earning at that point. Is there a cap on what the maximum is? Say, for instance, if Bill Gates, the richest man in the world, became disabled, what would he potentially have coming to him?
Yeah, and again, it would be the same as the maximum retirement amount, which would be about $2,600 a month.
26. I was just curious about that. So it's based on, and the lowest amount that someone can get would be like what?
$1.
Could be $1. All right, let's go. By the way, got lines open, 737-7587. If you want to ask a question of Josh, anything you're dealing with Social Security. We'll go next to Erica. Whoops. Hey, Erica, good morning.
Good morning.
What's on your mind?
Okay, I was on disability for 10 years, and recently I missed a hearing because they sent the paperwork to the wrong address. It was an address I hadn't lived in about a year, and I had given them an updated address to send things to. Well, I had evidence towards my case that my condition had gotten worse. Well, I didn't get to present that, so they told me I wasn't disabled anymore. They cut off my benefits and my insurance, and I can't get my medicine or anything else. I have a appeal in for another hearing, but they said it could take up to 13 months. What am I supposed to do in the meantime?
Wow. So I'm wondering, was the initial meeting that they had scheduled this to revisit to see how she was doing, just to check and see what their conditions are? And that's to watch and see if someone's gotten better, but she's claiming she even got worse, which makes this worse that she didn't get that notification the way she should have.
Well, my initial reason was brain cancer.
Okay, and you're still with us, so did you beat it?
I'm still in remission after 10 years, so
That's great.
I guess so.
That's great. That's great.
That is great.
Okay, so what does she need to do? I mean, it sounds like this was not her fault, and Social Security unfortunately had the wrong address, or maybe she should have alerted them. What can she do?
Yeah, and it sounds like she has done what she needed to do, and that's appeal the decision.
Yeah. But how long will that take? Like she said, again, that's what everyone fears. She's probably going to win, and if she's still messed up, they're going to give her benefit back. But when you have something that all of a sudden you had is taken away, and then just like everything else with Social Security, it's so slow. That is.
And unfortunately, I don't have any good answers for you in this particular situation. If we weren't able to get those the medical review forms back in time because of a wrong address or something along those lines, and now it's pending for another review. The best thing to do would be to contact your local field office and talk to them a little bit about some of the options. But I don't really have any good answers for you today in this situation.
How
other
long
than
will it take?
Letting everybody know how important it is to check and double check about making sure that we have the correct address on file. And not to put another plug in here, but if you go up to socialsecurity.gov, create your MySSA account, you can see what address we have on file, and that we're sending documents to the right address.
Yeah, so Erica, how long have you been going without your medicine?
Well, since August.
What is this medicine?
Bipolar, borderline schizophrenic, and I've got physical issues too, and so pretty much. I've tried going to the local office to talk. I've tried calling the local office to talk to them, and I never get a call back from the manager because they tell me I need to talk to him. And I've left multiple messages. I'm frustrated. This is really aggravating me.
Yeah,
I understand.
Well, and again, I mean, if this is a situation where we can jot down her number, we can give her a call back and see if there's anything we can do. Or I can also, the other thing I was thinking about is putting her in contact with the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, the SHIP folks, because particularly with the medicines, a lot of times they have some avenues and some things that we can explore that may be able to help. But definitely in a brain cancer situation and some of the other things that you mentioned, you don't want to be going without your medicine. So we can try to do our best to get you taken care of.
All right. Well, listen, Erica, stay on the line there. Rick's going to get your number. Thank you for doing that. Sometimes with these more complex cases, we can't get into it totally on the phone. But that's why we do this show. This is awesome that Erica will get your number. We'll pass that on to Josh, and then maybe he can at least look into that or put you in touch. You mind doing that later today
absolutely.
if you get a chance? I really appreciate, because you know what I worry about her, and I don't know if her cancer's in remission, the medicines she's maybe taking are for other conditions. She said borderline schizophrenia, maybe other health problems. But I'd hate to think that something like this happened and someone who has cancer in remission and is still taking an anti-cancer drug comes off it, and then the cancer comes back. I don't know that that's her situation. But then, of course, that costs everyone more and, of course, puts her in dire straits. So thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. The number is 737-7587. Take another call before we go to the break, and we will go to Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Hey, what can we do for you?
I have a couple questions.
Okay, shoot.
Thanks. I had filed for disability, and I was denied. So I hired an attorney, Hughes & Coleman, and it didn't do nothing for me. So I appealed it because they denied me there. And I'm waiting for the appeal, and I'm wondering how long it takes. And my second question is since my first husband passed away, if I do get Social Security, do I file under his Social Security, or do I just go with my Social Security?
Okay, what we'll do is hang on. We'll answer the second part of your question after our break. We have a break that we have to take in a moment. But real quick, can you say how long typically an appeal takes?
For the hearings level, it's going to look like a year to 18 months.
Okay, and that's just through the process with hearings, filings, and
Well,
all
that's
that?
just for a hearing.
Oh, to get to the hearing.
So
So
you're talking about a couple of years or so from, if you had to start at the initial and go through the hearings level.
we should just say this, and while you're scratching your head going, what am I supposed to do in that time? And I know that's tough. If she gets her benefit, she gets retroactive pay from when she originally filed,
right.
correct? That's something
That's
to
right.
remember. It could be a lump sum or something along
You were
those.
protected from the first time you contacted us saying you want to file for disability. You're protected all the way back there.
Yeah. The trick is, how do you live between now and then? Got to take a break. When we come back, we'll answer a question about her husband. Take more of your calls right after this. Stay with us.